forward again. Okay. What do we know happens between -1 standard deviation and +1 standard deviation? %68. The curve is symmetric. So what part of that 68% is above the mean and what part is below the mean? The curve is symmetric. Because the curve is symmetric, what's half of 68%? %34 sit here, 34% sit there. 68% are considered to be in the middle, the unremarkable range, but 34% of them are above average and 34% are below average. So each of these divisions can be subdivided in the problem. What do I know about 2 standard deviations above the mean and 2 standard deviations below the mean? I'm supposed to have 95%. So next question. How much additional area have you picked up? I know you got 95 total. I want to know how much more you had than what you had to begin with. Subtract. I now have 95%. I'm taking 68% away. That means I picked up 27%. Where is that 27% of area? All on one side, all on the other side, or some on each side? Some on each side. What part on each side? Half is above, half is below. So what's half of 27? So I now have 13.5% here and a 13.5% there. So if this were grades, 13.5% of the class is going to get a B. If this is insurance, 13.5% are paying a bigger rate, 13.5% are getting a discount. And what happens between -3 and +3?
99.7.
99.7. So same question. How much additional area have you picked up? 99.7 minus 95, 4.7. Is that all above or all below? Or is it half above and half below? So half of 4.7 gives you 2.35%. In this section, we have 2.35%, and in this section, we have 2.35%. And we haven't accounted for all the area yet, have we? What's left over? Well, if you got 99.7, what's left over? 0.3%. 0.3% left over. Half of that is above, half of that is below, therefore 0.15% beyond 3 standard deviations and 0.15% beyond a positive 3 standard deviations. Now we've accounted for 100% of the data. So let's go back and let's look at the question and finish it. What percent of temperatures in New Orleans are less than 91.6? If this is my mean value, doesn't that mean that it's also my median value? Doesn't that mean that 50% of the data is to the right of that? Doesn't it also mean that 50% of the data is to the left of it? Of that 50% to the left, how many have we already accounted for? What's between 0? Because if you have a z-score of 0, if you have a standard score of 0, you are dead set on the mean. You're right in the middle. And 1 standard deviation below the mean. So what area is between dead center middle and 1 standard deviation below the mean? 34%. If this is 34%, how much is left of the 50% that I expect to be below that particular point? 16%. You will be asked on at least 1 question, 2 questions, not to target middle sections, but to target a section that will be greater than this or less than this. And you have to have a clear understanding of what each section amounts to in those cases. Okay, so what are we going to do here if we have to find the percentile rank? We're going to put them in order. If you don't want to put them in order, it makes it harder for you. What's your target value? 22. So if I skip putting them in order, which values are below 22? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of the 17 values, there's 17 values there, are less than 22. 6 out of 17 then gives me a decimal 3529 with a bunch of other stuff. Multiply it by 100, 35.29%. Round up, even though it doesn't look like it, 35% are below that. So 22 cannot be a value of less than 35.29. Has to be a whole number though. So the closest whole number has to go up. So that means that we are talking about the 36th percentile. If you don't sort the data by hand, then you got to count. And that becomes hide and go seek. And if you play hide and go seek, somewhere along the line you'll miss something if you're not careful. So it's better to dump it into the calculator, let the calculator sort it, or you do it by hand. Probably not huge data sets, but the more there are, the easier it is to miss something. And I think that that was the last slide that I had. Yes, it was. So guess what? I finished in record time. Actually not. We're right around the time we're supposed to be. Okay, so Monday we'll take loose end questions on normal distributions, and we'll spend some time talking about the practice test then. Okay? So if you get a chance to look at the practice test between now and Monday, that would be a good thing for us. Standard deviation due on Friday, and the quiz due on Saturday. Okay? Have a great weekend. Those of you that normally come, we'll see you on Friday.